So this is where we work on the collection. This is all the work that we have to do. We have boxes here, and every day we'll lift down a box and work through it, and we have a little production line of photography, accessioning, and then collections care doing a assessment, and I do labelling in the middle as well. So this is the before, I suppose, of our workload, and then around the other side are some of the boxes that we have completed. So then this is the finished product. We've got all of the objects wrapped. Every object is given a number so we can track it on our collections database, and each of the boxes is given a number as well. What we're conscious of with this box, it looks like it's going to be textiles, and I'm not wearing gloves just yet. With textiles, I would typically just wash my hands really well because you have less dexterity with the gloves. So I'm going to go do that. Okay, so we have been working through similar objects recently that are, I suppose, prison artwork, and they were handkerchiefs, so I think that's probably what we're going to come across today. So we first of all have a look at what we've got. The first step is taking a photograph. So I'm going to carry it over with the existing fold. Eventually these objects will benefit from conservation, particularly with things like this where there's an obvious fold in the middle of it. But this project, really, the intention is just to get photographs of what they look like right now, and we can assess the condition and then decide priorities from within the collection. So I'll have a look and see if it seems accurate to life. In particular, we're looking for the colours being accurate, especially with something like this that seems to be painted. We want to make sure that we're capturing what it looks like now so we can see if it fades over time. So then I'll move to my other laptop, and the purposes here is to capture a bit of the brief description for curatorials. Probably from a loyalist perspective, you've got the emblems of the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force, and the Red Hand Commando, an image of a map of Northern Ireland with the Union flag, and then the Ulster banner as well. This one I need to do a wee bit of research on because I don't know off the top of my head, but that's sometimes what we'll end up doing, is researching exactly. You can see the combination of this star from the Red Hand Commando, and then that's the saltire behind it from the Scottish flag. We think it's really important for us to acknowledge that we won't know everything about this collection. It might just be something I haven't come across yet, and one of my colleagues might know more about it. The other bit that I will do here is capture measurements. Important for our collections database that we have that information. It's also thinking with a view to potential display. The final bit of what I do is adding the number onto it. So labelling depends on the object that you have. Because this is textile, we're going to sew it on, and really the intention is always to be that it's attached to the object, but removable as well. So if it was going on display, that we would be able to remove it. We want it to be as unobtrusive as possible, making sure that it's kind of a wee bit hidden and on the back. And thinking about what side of the object you would display. Whenever the objects that came from Maze Long Kesh were brought away from that site, they were in the care of the prison service, and a prison service museum was established. And so some of the objects have labels from that time and numbers on them. So you can see actually the prison service museum, that's a label from that time and from 1992. So now I pass over to Jen.
My role generally is to actually record the condition the object is in. So this tends to be looking at it and looking for areas of damage or various indications of the history it's undergone. We've got a standard spreadsheet that we use that's based off of the Spectrum standards, and these are a bunch of sort of regulations / guidelines that conservation will use so that we're in line with the rest of the heritage field. And these tend to be the sort of completeness level. Now we would say this thing is complete. It is a single handkerchief. It probably isn't missing any areas that we can tell. Pretty much the major part of what we look at for conservation is it stable as is, or is it undergoing some sort of change? And if it's poor or unacceptable, that means we need to do something now. Now, even though this has got like a massive watermark, I would actually say that the condition is good because it's not unstable.
Conservation will record damage and things like that on their report. That really comes through in their work, and things like hazards and condition. But we also will have conversations about, well, this is the condition it came to us in, so that's the condition that we might want to maintain with it, not necessarily bring it back to a condition that was before our time with the object. So it's about keeping historical accuracy and making sure it's authentic to what the object was.
Some sort of material attached to it here. Looks like paper. It's probably what it's been stuck on. Even some tissue.
That's interesting. So it could have been on display in the Prison Service Museum.
I think we'd probably just assumed that it is a material that's been transferred to it. I think it would probably be recorded because we want to avoid doing anything that might remove that, unless it was doing some sort of obvious detrimental damage to the object. Then it would be a case for removing it because it's actually going to cause the destruction of this image, which is actually an image that we're interested in.
The example I would give from other things we have in the collection is that we have some mobile phones and the batteries were corroding and leaking, I guess, is that the technical term? If we make the decision to remove the battery in order to preserve the main part of the object that we're interested in preserving, it makes sense to do that. So it's a conversation between us of how historically significant the curatorial perspective thinks that it is, and we'll do our due research to fully understand the object in order to put that case forward, and then conservation will indicate, well, what can we do, how far can we take it? And it's also, in terms of this collection, we're kind of looking at priorities as well because there's so many objects. We're on number 722 today, and I don't know, I would guess there's going to be several thousand.
Because it's got this paint material on it, I will wrap it so that there's the least amount of light getting to it, which means that we should be able to preserve that intense colour that's still present after quite a few years, really.
Okay, so we've got a little hat. I'll do an initial at ground.
Out of a pair of jeans.
That is a possibility. Yeah, denim clothing of some kind. I'll snip off the existing label in order to take a photograph. It's been put through a hole in the back, so I'll just snip it again to make sure I'm not pulling on that fabric or creating any more holes. We would always try and put a label through an existing hole, and I'll make sure I take that to record that because that's from the prison service. I'd have a look at the stitching and see if I think it's machine stitched or hand stitched as well. That's machine. It's too uniform to be hand stitched. What I'll do is have a wee look at where the previous label was put through and probably replicate that. I actually think because the hole that was used previously, I think if I put something else through there, that's going to cause strain on that and it might worsen it. So I'm inclined to not do that because it's already frayed around the edges. The nature of denim means I don't really want to do that. So what I might do is pick up a stitch that's existing and use that as my anchor for what I'm doing.
Yeah, this is something that I would put down as in good condition. There is some staining, there's some potential damage. It could have happened at any point in its life. So I wouldn't say that it was in excellent condition, but it's definitely in good condition.
Do you think the front bit is felt tip?
I'd definitely say that looks like pen, yeah. Permanent marker maybe, or yeah, a felt tip. Just deciding that it's probably an ink from something like a pen would affect the conditions we would say that it can live under. As a textile, we tend to ask that it was under quite low lighting, that it was within good temperature ranges.
I'm going to say that bleaching is just the nature of the denim rather than something that has happened.
Oh yeah, the bleaching.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like
That is bleaching, but
acid wash, is that called?
brown stains.
Those are, yeah. String's kind of hardened a wee bit. I think it's still pliable, but if I notice something like that whenever I'm snipping it off, I'll mention to Jen and then she can look closer at that area whenever she takes it, because it could be something like glue, some sort of residue that's been left on from something else. So we'll have that conversation. So the other collection we have is a photographic collection. These ones are mostly finds, so prison officers recording items that were found in cells or compounds. We've just been scanning all of these photographs and then placing them into, this is Melanex, which is protective. Some of them also come with these little pieces of information, so we're trying to capture these as well. To make sure that the full story of what things might have been, where things might have been found, or what the prison officers thought about them as well. I would say there's several hundred photographs in these sort of finds boxes, but there are also some photographs of life in the prison as well, like of cells and things like that too.
I mean, I find these nice because you're looking at these photographs and then you're finding the real objects, which gives you sort of different points in time as well. It's helpful for conservation to look at it and say that has definitely changed or that hasn't changed.
By taking photographs, it makes it so much more accessible for everyone to be able to feed into and talk about what each of the objects might be really. One of these boxes has been fully worked through already. This is the second one, and it's been one of our volunteers has been doing that very diligently. And working on it with us. So it's great that we've been able to have support from volunteers as well, helping us with the collection.